welcome to episode 398 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now, something very different from Mark and Me today. I'm joined by the amazing Utah Saints. Yes, both Jez and Tim join me. We get to talk all about the band's legacy and so much more. It's a great interview, and that will be coming up in just a couple of minutes' time. But as always, I always use the intro for each and every episode of Mark and Me to talk about my last episode. I was joined by Daniel and Eduardo, the directors of the amazing Blair Witch Project. This episode blew up. A massive thanks to everyone that shared it, everyone that listened, and all the amazing feedback. One of my most downloaded episodes this year, and it's just incredible to see everyone buying the second sight release and celebrating this absolute horror masterpiece. But today it's Utah Saints, and just before you get the interview, let's give a shout out to the sponsor of Mark and Me. Yes, Vice Press. If you're out there right now looking for some beautiful artwork, collectible items, and these amazing posters, genuinely Vice Press is the only place to go. And the good thing is, because they're a partner of the podcast, they are offering all listeners 10% off their first purchase, and all you have to do is add some of their great stuff into the cart. When you get there, add the code in Mark and Me 10 and you will get that discount straight away. So there's a great time to get some amazing Christmas presents. Treat yourself even. They've just released a brand new amazing print for Dune 2 from Matt Ferguson and so much more, and you'll see it all and want to buy absolutely everything, I guarantee. But like I said, today's interview is Utah Saints, so let's get to it now. So here's me, Tim, and Jez talking all things Utah Saints. So Jez and Tim, welcome to the Mark and Me podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Hello.
It's great to see you both today. And what I do with all guests that come on the podcast, and it doesn't matter if you're an artist, a musician, a film star, is I always like to take it back to the start of anyone's career. And what I'm really interested in, we're going to go down nostalgia lane, is when you were both kids, if you remember that first record that maybe was handed to you by a member of the family or you bought with your own pocket money, but that first introduction to music that made you think, fucking hell, I am absolutely going to be obsessed with music for the rest of my life. Jez, go first. Let's raise the bar.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, it had actually quite a confusing impact on my life. I'm still confused about it now, but it was Wilma Flintstone. It was the Flintstones reading the story of Bambi.
Wow.
And for ages I thought somehow Bambi was in the Flintstones, and it was all really confusing because I was obviously a little kid. But my dad made the record player, and he got a Garbutt deck, and he made this wooden box with the speaker pointing downwards, and inside the box, and that was my first record player. And I just loved the fact that you put something on and it went round and made a sound, and that probably started my kind of love of music from and sounds. And also from there, there used to be a shop I grew up in rural Cumbria, so there'd be a shop in town. You'd have to go and order your singles from the card shop in town. So I'd go down into town, when I got a little bit older with pocket money, and then you'd have to go in and you go, I want this track from the charts. It was a good time because pretty quickly punk was coming out, so I could be really cool or attempt to be cool and go. It was the Sex Pistols 7-inch, which I bought. I did buy that, but it wasn't the first one. The first one was, I think it was a Wurzels track about having a new combine harvester. Again, a rural connection right there. But the idea of going down to shop, ordering one song, which is what you were doing, and then waiting a week, and then getting really excited all week, and then going back to that shop and getting that one song, and then going home with it, and then playing it on this record player. That's a whole process in itself. And I think it was the whole thing that kind of drew me in.
That's amazing. And I'm now thinking, is Tim going to be completely different and not have Combine
Mm.
Harvester on vinyl, or is it going to be
I
something?
mean, no, it's quite similar to Jazz's because I grew up in rural Lincolnshire, and I also had a shop in the village, it was the shop where the at the petrol station. So it was like a little shop where you went in and paid for your fuel. I sold a few sweets, and they did sell the top 10 on the singles. So I used to, I did get a hand me down from my parents to compete with Jazz on his vinyl. I got a Huckleberry Hound album, which I've still got, which is quite cool. And yeah, no, I just used my pocket money, and I went to the shop every week, and I I brought I'd always kind of brought a record, brought a 7 inch, but it was varied, and a lot of the times I hadn't heard them, but I just kind of liked the artwork or I liked the sleeve. I thought this sounds cool, looks cool, I will buy it. So I brought everything from like the Kids from Fame 7 inch to Depeche Mode, Just Can't Get Enough.
Oh, nice.
And I remember buying the specials. I bought. I remember buying the Beat Mirror in the bathroom, um, and quite a lot of two tone stuff. I really liked, and yeah, right across. So I remember buying Blue Monday, which I had to actually order the 12. That was my first ever 12 inch that I got. So yeah, no, I've still, the cool thing is I've still got a lot of the 7 inch singles at home. I moved house recently. I had all my vinyl went into storage, and so I'm finally kind of just going through it now and trying to catalog it and enjoy the latter years of my life, being able to go back through it all.
I'm very jealous because my mum threw all mine away, so I had all the early vinyls for. It's not as cool my age. I'm only 42 now, so it was early Green Day and punk records like Offspring, Nirvana, but those sort of real early recordings, and my mum just threw the lot away. So I'm very, very jealous when people are like, "I've still got my first record." I'm like, "Damn it!"
That said, Mark, you may have done you a favor. It's just
I'm down there.
every time you move house, you just got like you just cart these massive crates of vinyl everywhere, and then setting up a vinyl deck is usually one of the last things you get to
Yeah.
because you're setting up everything else. So she might have done you a favor.
What about live music then, guys? Because Green Day at Wolverhampton Wolfram Hall when I was 12 was my first gig, and I was blown away. I thought that three people couldn't make that much noise on stage, and from that moment, I thought, I just want to be in a band. I just want to perform. I want to play music. I remember my rib cage shaking at the bass. I remember the hairs on my neck sticking up, and just being totally absorbed. And after that, literally, I'd go there every week and discover loads of new bands in their early days. I'd get to see Corn, Limp Bizkit, all these bands that you'd never expect to play these tiny venues. And I just wondered what your both kind of first gigs, even if they're embarrassing and you don't tell people the real one, what those first shows were for you that you remember that kind of got you into the live music scene.
Oh, for me, there were two things. One is I started really young DJing like as a mobile. I used to hire the local village hall, which is in another village actually called Warwick Bridge, and I'd go along with my one record deck, which I'd managed to save up, not the one my dad built. I'd managed to save up and get another one which had a radio built in, which is a whole other story. But I'd use that, and then I borrowed my mate's dad's big hi-fi speakers, and I'd got a 15 quid light controller, and I built all my own light boxes out of like light fittings with just normal light bulbs in them, and then I put cellophane from biscuit tins in front of them to make them coloured, and then I used to charge 50p, and the kind of local youth would turn up and sort of headbang to like rock records. So I'd be playing like classic rock records, and so that was kind of the live performance side where I started, and my ambition was to DJ at the school kind of end of term thing. It wasn't a prom, but it was like a disco rave thing, dance thing, and I managed to get there and borrow all the equipment from the music department and do that. So that was my kind of live thing that way. First band though was Newcastle City Hall. Similar experience to the one you just described actually, and that's the fantastic thing about about music is when you have these kind of moments that it all collide at the same time. And I went to see Thin Lizzy
Oh wow.
at Newcastle City Hall, and I can still remember the first 20 seconds of that gig because we were just like I was with my mates and I was probably I don't know 13, 14. And we the four of us and we caught the train from Carlisle. So it was a whole adventure because you had to go out to Newcastle, which is about an hour and a half away on the train. And we got in and then suddenly the lights went off. It was all pitch black in the theatre, and Phil Lynott came on and shouted, "Are you ready?" And everybody went, "Yes," with a bit more enthusiasm than that. And then he shouted again, "Are you ready?" And then we heard the four clicks of Brian Downey's drums just clicking into the track "Are You Ready"
Oh
by Thin
man.
Lizzy. And when the band came in, it was complete sensory overload. It just went bang, pyrotechnics, lights, huge noise, and Phil Lynott just being a complete and utter rock god and amazing superstar. So those 10 seconds changed my entire life. And I saw it and I didn't even know what it was. I just said, whatever that is, that's what I want to do. So it was like
I feel like your bar's been set so high that Tim's now not going to get close to that because like that even you just describing it was giving me kind of like shivers. I was like, oh, that sounds so good.
amazing, amazing. It was one of those experiences where I still now, many years later, I get the same response. I'm still like, Jesus, that happened, and that was amazing. So.
Yeah, so I didn't go to any like rock gigs, but my first proper gig was Depeche Mode when I was about 16, which is at Hammersmith Odeon, which I went got the bus down to London with some friends from school. So I was quite early in, but I think it was the Speak and Spell album that tour was on, and then yeah, no, that I mean that maybe got me into electronic music really, but I was also at the time into the early sort of hip hop and when I was 18, I went to a place in Nottingham called Rock City. I remember I was underage because I used to do a lot of all dayers, and I saw Run DMC with LL Cool J and Public Enemy all on the same bill, and
Jesus Christ.
and LL Cool J came out of a giant ghetto blaster on stage, which I thought was that was amazing. And yeah, so I used to go and see lots of things like that, but I actually didn't realize now until only now it's kind of how cool they are. Because I saw Mantronics, I saw Curtis Blow, a band called Stetsasonic, and I used to just go to because I got into like hip hop and the early electro sort of breakdancing and stuff like that. So that was kind of because I was just fascinated with turntables and decks. So and where I lived, that was the closest kind of big place where everybody played. So I would always go to those, and but yeah, and I would have only been 16, 17, 18. So it's good time, and I'm really really pleased that I kind of got to see, like Run DMC, and just yeah, they were life-changing things for me, and that just shaped my whole life really musically.
What's the obviously I could go on Wikipedia and read, but I'd rather hear it from you guys yourself. What was the time that you both first met? I know you must have been asked this a lot, but I'm always intrigued with the story coming
Yeah.
from you actual
Well,
yourselves.
we only met. The weird thing was What Could You Do For Me came out in I think August 1991, and we only probably met in 1991 at the start early in the year really, probably March or April, something like that.
That blows my
Um,
mind. I thought you'd kind of like grown up as kids, or you know what I mean, and kind of had all these experiences, and then
no,
your worlds had, built up
no, but we
together.
don't,
But
we both had all these experiences, which were even though like Jez went to see Thin Lizzy and I went to see Depeche Mode and that I think when you listen to Utah's record, all those things are kind of completely present in there because
yeah,
um, say you know, with Thin Lizzy, you kind of, and the way when we do our gigs, just the energy that we put into it. So, yeah, Jazz has kind of definitely brought that side to it, and then and then I'd say like with the sampling thing, I mean, Jazz is. I like all the music that Jazz likes, but 95% of it, and Jazz probably likes 95% of the music I like. So that's a common ground, and when you put that into a pot and you kind of mix it all together, you get a kind of unique sort of Utah Saints sound. And the probably the closest thing is, so when you take a Public Enemy record, when they put a record together, I know that the way they kind of made their music was they'd almost chuck the kitchen sink in, and then and somewhere in there you'd get like 4 bars or an 8-bar loop, which was kind of pure magic, and you decipher out of that a track, and then Chuck would do the rap and Flavor would do the rap on it, but it's kind of a load of ideas and influences from all different places, and they come, and I'd say we kind of do a similar thing, but with house music. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think what's really interesting about you guys is you can't really put you in a certain genre or a certain category. And I know music shouldn't be like that, but you could play various different amounts of music festivals and not be kind of just pigeonholed into, no, they're just dance music. The fact that
Yeah, it's a good. You're 100% right, but that's a good thing. But at the same time, it's definitely not helped us at certain points, because sometimes people like to be able to pigeonhole you and go, right, we'll put you in the dance tent or put you on this.
yeah,
Where it has benefited is that we have been put on, last year we played, with Pop Will Eat Yourself, and did some gigs with them, and their crowd was totally into it. And I never really thought, but we could go and play on a kind of dance, a dance, purely a house set in a dance club, but you could put us on a stage. Like in a few weeks, we're playing Fatboy Slim's or Back to Minehead, for example, at Butlins in Minehead, and that's a total kind of dance event. The week before, we're also playing at Minehead, Butlins, and we're playing Shine On, which is an indie festival. We're probably the only band that will play those 2 festivals, and we had to check that each one was happy with the others, but they were, because they don't overlap. And the crowd who goes, a few of the people will go to both, but that kind of sums it up really, that we can play Shine On, and we can play Fatboy Slim. So
I know it's difficult when you look back because you're so involved. And when I speak to artists and DJs and bands and musicians, Jez, for you, did you ever get chance to take a step back and see how far you'd come? Because I know it's difficult when you're caught up in it because it happens so fast. But be in a stadium playing with U2, were you able in that moment to reflect and actually be able to think and digest? Fucking hell, we're playing in a stadium with one of the world's biggest bands, or were you too caught up in it internally, and it was only later in life that you could really kind of reflect on everything that had taken place with you guys?
It's definitely. I probably had that moment the first time we stepped on the set of Top of the Pops. I
Yeah,
probably had that and suddenly you feel like, okay, this is a shift. Partly because you suddenly feel like, okay, I can kind of legitimize this to people who don't understand the music industry or see it as a hobby or whatever. So there's that. But after that, you're right. You don't really, you're very caught up in it, and you don't really have any perspective you've got at all. So we got offered for example, you mentioned the U2 gigs. We got offered those gigs, 10 of them. We were just amazed. It was just amazing to be offered them, and we had to do them, and we did them, and they were an amazing experience. You're right. It's only when you can kind of look back and think, okay, well, we're still here. We've managed to navigate the music business somehow, and stay in it. So that's the kind of takeaway message from all of it. There's been lots of high points, lots of low points, but ultimately the fact that we're still here, we're still being able to do music is an amazing thing. And just picking up on a point of how we met, I'd been in quite a few bands before that. before Utah's with records out, and so I'd kind of honed my stagecraft a bit. Tim had been DJing his own nights and had some house records, and where we met, for me, when I met Tim, when you meet people, sometimes you meet people who want to do things, and you meet people who kind of have to do things.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
definitely.
And when I met Tim, there wasn't a question that he wasn't a DJ. It wasn't a question that he was doing anything else other than being involved in music. And that was so that meant for me, I thought, right, I've met somebody else who's got very different skill set and tacit knowledge to me, but he also has to do it, and kind of gets the fact that we have to do this.
And that's sometimes, I'm putting it into a different context, but sometimes you find someone that says, "Oh, I'd love to do podcasts and I'd love to be in a band." But then there's people that want to be in a band, and there's a huge difference. And when the passion's there and it's in their blood and it's the only thing that they feel that they're there to do, there's no plan B. There's no, well, if that doesn't work out, I'll go and work in a shop. If it's only the focus and it's absolutely part of you, if you've been fortunate to meet someone else that has that same kind of passion and belief, you've won the lottery every day, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
And that's similar. That's a great analogy as well. You know what you're doing is that, you know, when I look at your catalog of podcasts, that's says to me that's not somebody who thinks I want to make podcasts.
Yeah.
That's literally you're being driven you're on a mission with these podcasts, and that comes across. I think those kind of intangible qualities are starting to make a bit of a comeback in
Yeah.
our existence, our communal existence, which is a great thing.
The problem was there was a massive influx of it, and because of MTV and VH1 and the incredible radio shows with Zane Lowe and people, there was these people each week talking so passionately about the things they love, and it's infectious, isn't it? You watch someone talk about something they love, you want part of it, you want to take a bit of that and have a play. And I feel that you're exactly right what you're saying. You go to a concert now and you can see it's quite transparent if they're just taking a paycheck and just doing a reunion or just playing a show for the sake of it, and it's not really coming across like they love it. It's just going through the motions. And I feel that right now, as a punter who goes and invests money and goes to a gig, when I saw Depeche Mode last year with my wife and The Cure a couple of years ago, they don't need to do it now for money. They do not need the hassle of touring and sound checking and all the merch and all the stuff. They're doing it because they want to, and it's the most pure, beautiful thing to see when it's so sincere and so organic and so real. It's that's why you two are still doing it now, I'm sure.
Yeah, because we we're out like still every weekend. Like we haven't had well, last Saturday was the first Saturday we had off since April, really. And we really like going. What we have done this year and last year especially is going to places to play. That we play clubs that are probably about 300 capacity.
Yeah.
Like we're doing one tomorrow in Darwin in Lancashire, right? And it's just a little place called Sunbird Records, and they've got like a small little venue, but we'll make the effort and go there, and we look when we take a gig on, we always just sort of look at the economics of it for everybody, so that we're not going to overcharge or anything like that. So I want to try and keep ticket prices reasonable. Promoter makes some money, and it covers our expenses, and we make a little bit, but the whole economics of that work. And so we'll go to a town like that. But the cool thing is everybody will come out, and you know, back to what you were saying, like we could, I guess, go right. We're not going to do those kind of gigs and just wait until the big festival ones come in. But we really like doing that, and we're totally noticing. We're just noticing an effect on everything, like people buying the records and streaming and that, because you make the effort to go there and you make the effort to play, and people really like that, and everybody comes out. It's just really special, that. So we've noticed that's been happening a lot more for us, especially in the last couple of years.
I love the fact that when I look at your upcoming dates, there's a place like the Hare and Hounds in Birmingham, which is just going to be an incredible venue. Like,
Yeah.
so intimate. You get to see the actual faces of the people that have paid for tickets and they're part of this party and part of this kind of
And the thing
union
is,
of you all.
well, you're right. And the thing is, those gigs, right, as an artist, right, they're a lot harder because exactly what you said, it is intimate, right? And you've got people literally stood right in front of you and you get eye contact. Whereas when you're on a stage at a festival, there's quite a bit of distance.
Yeah.
It's great doing a festival. You look out and there's a big crowd and you don't really look, you don't really look eye contact with so many people, and it's just, you just see a sea of people out front and it's great and the production's awesome and everything like that. But when you do a gig, it really puts you on a spot because people are right on top of you and they're looking at everything you're doing and it puts you on your A game, which I like because it kind of tests you that that you still got it.
Do you, Jez, be completely honest with me? Do you still get nervous? I know it's obviously something you've done for so many years now. I don't want to make you sound old, but decades within the industry, working together, doing huge festivals, small clubs, little gigs. You've been there, done it all. Before that moment of, right, it's 10 o'clock or whatever it is, and you're both ready to go on. Is there ever that doubt, even if it's a smaller venue or a huge festival, is there still that, oh, I need to put a mask on now and I need to do this. I need to go on there and really put on the A game.
Yes, I still
Yeah.
get nerves. Yeah, because I think that's nerves are part of the fact that you keep wanting to improve, and that comes from anxiety of you're always assessing what you do and thinking, is it good enough to still be here, and for us still to be doing this and for us to be part of this. And as long as we keep thinking the answer is yes, then we'll keep doing it. But you need the nerves there to kind of keep your head in check, I think, for me. And I think, yeah, we both get nervous. And when it first started this, actually, I used to, not first started, but when things kind of took off for the Utahs, I'd go around and I would ask that exact question to lots of people because I used to get, I'm not as nervous as I used to be, but I would get very nervous about things. And I asked everybody, and from just about every band that I could think of, and only one person out of all the professionals said that they didn't get nervous anymore. That person, that was Cliff Richard
Oh, wow.
at Top of the Pops. So he said he didn't get nervous. And to be fair, at that point he'd been already probably been doing it for 30 years. So he
Yeah.
was like, so
He's earned the
okay.
right not to be nervous anymore. But
Yeah, I guess
No,
so.
I get nervous because not whether we're going to deliver or not. What I get nervous about is because in my head I'm still caught up in tickets. And when when you used to go to clubs and that you used to pay £5 to get in or £10. And when I see gigs now and it's like anything to go out on a Saturday night or Friday night is a minimum of £20 and that, I'm like, so I'm nervous to the fact that I want to make sure everybody goes home and goes, oh, that was value for money, and I was happy. That's what I get nervous about. Not whether I'm confident in what we'll deliver, but whether that translates to them thinking that they've got value for money and had a nice, great night out. Because they might people. I just think people don't go out every weekend like they did back in the day. I think they kind of go out, maybe they'll buy a ticket and they go, right, that's something I'm looking forward to. I'm going out in 6 weeks' time, and it's a big night. Get a babysitter, and they bought 2 tickets, and then they'll go out for a meal beforehand. So to me, they've kind of invested quite a lot of money in a night out. So I just don't want to let people down. That's all, and that's what I get nervous about. Not at the end of the night, was the lights good? Was the sound good? And did people think we played for 2 hours or so? Did people think it was cool when they go away, and will they come back again? That's what makes me nervous.
That's lovely. That's a good thing to do, and stay
Yeah.
humble and kind of appreciate that. I do it with the podcast. I think there's a million podcasters. Like it's funny now to try and find someone that doesn't have a podcast because everyone has a podcast. So if someone says to me, "Oh, I listened to your podcast the other day," that's enough for me to think, "Wow, like you have spent an hour of your time listening to me talk, and you could have done so much more. The world's so demanding of people's time. Everyone wants to be anywhere and everywhere." So you're right. If they're coming out and spending 20 quid to come and see you, and like you said, it's the food, the drink, the taxi, the babysitter, you want to make sure that they kind of enjoyed it, because it might be 6 or 8 weeks until they can do it again.
Yeah, and you're responsible for the key part of that night. That everything else,
No pressure then, lads.
yeah. So everything else revolves around everything. What you're doing is the fight end result. You see, so that's what it is.
So does it feel like it's been as long as it has, guys? Does it really feel like, no, what year was it when it all started? I don't want to make you sound too old
91.
now, but
1991.
Wow. Okay. So does it feel like the nights get a bit tougher, the life and work balance needs to be a bit healthier? Does it feel like, oh God, we've got a lot of shows coming up, I want to make sure I'm fit for it, and I want to make sure that we look after ourselves a bit better? Or does it all feel like one big adventure?
It's one big adventure.
Oh, I love to hear that.
It hasn't stopped, and we're not going to stop until we decide we need to stop. And it's still as exciting and ups and downs, but equally scary and ups and downs. The whole thing is continues to be a roller coaster. Just when you think stuff isn't happening, loads of stuff happens, and when you think loads of stuff are happening, you get slightly complacent and everything goes a bit rubbish for a bit. So it's still we've still got that energy, and we've still got that excitement, and we still keep the reason we're doing it. And like I say, we're both still doing we both still kind of start about 9:30, 10 in the morning, and we're still like last night, we were still texting each other about 10:30 at night, and so it doesn't stop. And then we're out every weekend. Just when you think the week's it's got to Friday, we're out of the weekend. So, and we're playing travel and logistics around that. So it's all consuming, and it kind of needs to be really to keep your head in that space is really important, because I think if you come too far out of it, then you lose something.
What is there left to do? And that's not meant to put like a close to this chapter or anything. I just wondered, since 91, still selling out these great venues, still playing festivals, the hunger's still there. Like, even though I've only met you today, I can tell you're both passionate. It's not like, yeah, we don't want to get another job, so we're just doing it for the sake of it. Both of you are like, it's your first 6 months in the business. And I wondered, is it just keep it going? Just keep letting it be, let it take the journey it's going to take you on naturally? Or is there still something that you both kind of seek within you that you just want to kind of tick off the list?
There's lots of things I think we want to tick off the list.
We're both at peace, I think, with where we're at, and if everything stopped tomorrow, we could look back and go, kind of boxes that we ticked in that, and I'd be happy with that. But then I could look at boxes that you haven't ticked, and I know that there's still boxes that we haven't ticked, that we kind of things that we want to do, and we both feel that we've got a lot of life left in us still, and we will, as Jez said, we'll keep doing this until like there's no urge to do it, and we won't be that band who's just doing it like you said earlier, just
yeah,
the paycheck, because
going through the motions. It's so
we'll never be that band. So we'll stop before that happens.
And also, I think we're still trying to do what we've never had a plan, so everything's kind of happened randomly. B, we've been terribly slow at putting tracks out. Last track we had out was the album's coming out again like tomorrow, but but the actual last track we put out was 2012, which was a collaboration with drum sound and bass Dan Smith. Before that was 2008, when Something Good was a huge hit again. And then before that was the 90s. So we've had 2 albums in 30 years. That's terrible maths. So we need more tracks. We are working on stuff. We want to get some more tracks out before we stop. And also, I think we're still on a bit of a mission to go. You don't, even though it doesn't exist, or exists a lot less now, we just have to say, look, this is good music. It doesn't matter what type of music you're particularly into. The Utahs understand, we think, what people will like, and that's not because we're cocky or arrogant. It's just that we've been doing it a long time. We've carried a lot of music with us now, and we can kind of go from kind of surf genres a little bit, all within the dance music realm. But I mean, we still get people coming up to us now going, "Oh, I wasn't particularly into dance music until I had the Utahs, or I wasn't particularly in. I'd never heard of Slayer until Utah Saints
Yeah.
sampled Slayer, and those kind of things." So that's still a bit of a thing for us. I think that we're trying to go, look, good music's good music.
What happens when the day comes and it's not in your blood anymore and the passion isn't there and you just think, I don't want to do it this weekend. I don't want to do it anymore. Or do you just never see that happen?
I don't personally think I see that'll happen at the moment.
That's
And
good. That's amazing. That's what you want. Let it live forever.
yeah, and yeah, I can't answer that because I've never felt that thing. So I don't know when that happens. And
Isn't
yeah,
that beautiful that you've never
yeah.
even had that stumbling block or just once thought, I don't know if I can be arsed anymore. It's never even been a thought.
Part of the reason for that as well
Steve.
is that we've always got because we've been doing it since 91 and longer before the Utahs, that when a situation arises, like if a situation arises now, both of us have probably got a reference point to something that happened in the past or similar thing, that we can refer to and go, right, well, if that happened before, that's how we dealt with it. So
Yeah.
kind of with everything comes experience and knowledge, I guess. And so we're both kind of older and wiser. So we do, if something annoys us or something like that, we kind of know how to navigate around it. And one of us will talk to the other and go, right. And, if one of us gets cross about something's happening or not, doesn't feel right that we should be doing this or whatever, right? We both talk. We always talk everything out, and then we always seem to come to a good solution, and that's worked for us really up to this point.
I can give you two really quick examples of the other reason. Sounds. I'm not trying to make it sound really wholesome or something, but this applies to everybody, like the whole of humanity. Never
Yeah.
underestimate the reach that something has that you do. So you do your podcast, you've done 400 episodes, for example. Somebody might email you in 10 years' time and go, I listened to episode 42 and
Yeah.
it had this positive effect on me and helped me through this time. We still get that. Last week, I got an email from a young person who was doing their A-levels and wants to get up, going to my old school that I went to when I was a kid, just going, have you got any advice? And I emailed them back going, do stuff and stuff happens, basically. That was kind of my advice.
Yeah.
I made it a bit more detailed than that. But that's still offering something. And you'll have people reaching out to you going, how do I get into what you do? Have you got any advice?
It's true. Yeah.
So all of us just needs to keep doing stuff that kind of engages other people and whatever line of work you're in. And for us, I don't think we don't know how to do anything else. This is just what we do.
I feel like there's when someone says to me sometimes, and it does translate well to what you guys do, I believe, is I leave a diary entry for the world to listen to and read every single week, and they've had that now for 8 years, and they'll have it for another 20 years. And if someone wants to one day go back and listen to what I did in December 4 years ago, that's how I was feeling, and that's who I wanted to speak to. And the conversation I had about those times is literally a snapshot of that moment in time. But the difference is, instead of me writing it on a page in a book, it's out there for the world to listen to as an audio. And for you guys with your music, you might have said it's been years between certain writing tracks and releasing stuff. But you wrote that piece of music, you sat down, you chose a sample, you talked about what you're going to do as a producer. And that's for that moment. So if I go back and listen to a record of yours from 10 years ago or stream something on Spotify, that represents you guys for that moment in time on that occasion. And isn't that magical that that's never going to be edited or changed or taken away? It's always going to be a stamp that you've had that's kind of a legacy. And I don't want to sound that in an arrogant way, but it is something that you've left there for the world to discover.
You're right. And taking that even further is that just about every person can do that, whatever line of work they're in. So you have one interaction with somebody and you may as well make it a positive interaction, because that person, that you're changing that person slightly, and then they will pass it on to someone else. And I know it's the old thing about butterfly flapping its wings, but that's actually a thing. It's like we all remember altercations we've had where we kind of got into an argument with somebody and it hasn't been very good. But equally, you can remember when you've had like a positive interaction with somebody and it's kind of shaped your direction and maybe changed your direction somewhat, but had a positive impact. And I think everybody, I'm stopping myself going too far because it sounds like a bit of a kind of hippie soft skills.
No,
thing,
it's
but we do
online
it
at the
back to each
moment.
other.
Instagram is a great example. You go on Instagram at the moment, and every comment is always some troll who wants to have a little swipe at someone, or oh, don't they look fat, or oh God, they've lost it now, and oh, they don't sound as good as they used to. And you think, why not just not post that and just celebrate that someone's doing something? And I don't want to turn this whole interview into cyberbullying or negativity, but isn't it great that you've got this friendship that's like a marriage that you've sustained? And you just talked then, I think, literally about 5 minutes ago, Tim, about how you talk things through. And you two aren't screaming at each other and having to fight and get other people to step in and sort out your arguments or disagreements. You've got something positive. And if people are listening now, how many bands break up? How many people have to take legal action against former bandmates or musicians or publishers? You two have got like and I say this, as a romance, as a friendship, as your family. You
Yeah.
two have got something so solid. And I love the fact that today it's been positive and it's celebrated, that you've got something that many people would dream to have.
I think that's a really nice thing to say. Thank you. And I think it maybe if there's a band of 4 people, I mean, I think it's quite hard to find that, like the phrase
Yeah.
crowd. And then if you've got 4 people, I mean, the fact that there's 2 of us, I think it's helped. I think I do think if they do, because when we used to go out live, there would have been, there was 4 or 5 of us, right? And if they would have everybody been full-time members of the band, I'm not sure.
There'd have been fights.
I'm not sure that we'd still been together because I just think I'd seen tensions even then, just like, but there wasn't tensions between myself and Jez. But I can see how other bands can easily split up when you've got 4 people in it, basically.
Yeah.
Well, 2 people. We both, we both kind of bring different things to the table, and we both got a huge amount of respect for each other for all of those things. And and the things that I don't know and Jez knows and Jez excels in and I can't, and I just respect that. And same with Jez with myself. So that's why it works. And although we're quite similar people, but we have got different musical backgrounds, and we grew up in completely different areas, but there's a massive amount of similarities as well, and it works. And we don't really need to question each other. It's just like, if Jess says something to me, I just take that at face value, that's cool and that's good enough for me. I don't need to question it.
What I do, and it's my final question, and normally I do the podcast one-on-one, but you're either going to have to agree on it, play rock, paper, scissors. I don't know what we're going to do, but maybe somehow I'll combine the 2 tracks, which is what you two should be doing, because that's you're the good, you're the professionals at this. But every episode I've ever done of this podcast, even when I started, I've always asked the guest to make it as personal as I can. And I think you two will struggle with this because it's a cruel thing to do. At the end of the interview, for everyone that's been on, they choose the final piece of music that's played. So it can be any song in the entire world, but a piece of music that means something to you. And the hard thing about this is I'm not going to ask you to email me in a week or think about it overnight. What's the song that came to your heart and your soul when I ask you the question on the spot right now, guys? What's that one?
Could I ask you one? Could I ask you one question? Could it be any track, or is it a Utah's track?
No, it can be. I prefer you to pick any piece of music in the entire world. I think to pick your own music is great and it's lovely, but people are listening because they already know you. Let's give them a different track or a different piece of music that just means something to both of you.
I'm kind of glad you put us on the spot, because if you'd given us a week, both of us would have gone off and we'd have tried to listen to every track in the world that you
We
just
got it down
described.
to 1,000 now, Mark. Yeah.
So we would have gone off and listened to everything. I, I, is it if you want a more serious answer, you've got Tim, and if you want a slightly more less serious
I'm
answer,
happy to have both. I've had guests on before, and I've had a song played, then I've done my outro, and then the other songs played. I'll never, unless you two pick something very similar, I'm not going to be able to mix and combine the two tracks, am I?
well, the first track that came into my head, and it's probably a similar track to Tim's, is "I Feel Love," because a lot of people pick that track, "I Feel Love" by Donna Summer. But the second track that came into our head was "Mana Mana" by the Muppets, which is which I apologise in advance. Well, too late actually. Is an earworm that nobody can
I was
get rid
gonna
of.
say that's gonna. I had so with this podcast, what I do is I try and do as much research as I can, but some people don't need research. And yesterday I had Jeff Wayne on, who obviously did War of the Worlds.
Amazing.
So all I did is for the last few hours is have the soundtrack playing and just listening to it again, even though I know it inside out. And my wife came home and she was like, duh, 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 duh,
Yeah.
in the kitchen. And I was like, there's not much that can be a bigger earworm than that. But I think today you've just nailed it with that, because I already know if I finish this episode with that, people won't be like going, oh, Utah Saints. They'll be like, remember that song?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's finish it. I'm cool with that.
You're both in agreement. That makes my editing a lot easier. Wow. Okay, well, I'm going to finish with that, which people won't expect. And mentioning my wife, she's genuinely a huge fan, and she was really excited when I said today that I was interviewing you both, and we're both going to come along to Birmingham in December. It's a
Brilliant.
Friday, so she's a teacher, so she cannot, we can't do gigs in the week anymore. It's too much the next day. But that's a Friday night, and it's not
Cool.
far before Christmas, so I'll come and say hello to you both. And the
Dude,
Hare and Hounds will be fucking awesome, so I can't wait for that.
we're
Yeah,
really
so
looking forward to it.
we haven't played that. We haven't played the Hare Hounds before.
No.
So we need to. We both need to go to a night and check it out there beforehand. And I'll just tell you a quick story. We did the 100
Of
Club in
course.
London. We did the 100 Club in London a few weeks back in September, because it's an iconic venue, and
Yeah.
when you walk in there, you see pictures on the wall. Everybody who's ever played that club. So when we got asked to play it, we were like, yeah, we'll play it. And we hadn't been to the club and checked it out. And so we went to check it out when there was a band on, and Youth was actually DJing after the band, because we wanted to hear a DJ set, how it sounds through the system
Yeah.
and everything. And it's a great venue. So I don't know if you've been to the 100 Club.
I have, yeah. So I think I can't
Yeah.
remember who I've seen, but there's bands that sometimes do little secret shows or festival warm-ups
Yeah.
there.
Yes, exactly. So it's quite a weird shaped room and big stage, and so we wanted obviously to do Utah's show in there. So we went to see Youth DJ, and yeah, we left there thinking, right, we're going to have to put in some extra sound, some extra lights, and full production basically. So, and we asked them very politely, we go, do you mind if we don't use your PA? And we put a whole system in there because we thought they'd take offense, and they were really cool about it. Go, no, if you want to bring a PA. So we found a really cool PA that was like amazing sub bass on it and just awesome sounding. And then we spoke to a few friends and who hooked it up with a really good lighting, and we've got some screens in there. So basically, to cut a long story short, we sold it out, which is about 350 people, and we worked out afterwards it costs us around about £8 for everybody who came to the gig.
You did like a festival scale arena show in the 100 Club.
But it was a great show, and we were really happy with it. But it kind of that one kind of little story probably sums up everything, because me and Jez were like, we've got to do a good show, and it's like London, we want everybody to have a good time. And then we've got everybody came out of glow stick. I'm setting ourselves up big now for the Hare and Hounds, and you'll be like,
I was going to say that's it, the Hare and Hounds, but yeah, we're going to check the venue out.
Yeah, my wife's going to listen to this and think she's expecting like a Glastonbury style set in the Hare and Hound.
Yeah. So we haven't been to check it out yet. So the point being, we're going to go and check it out, and then
Yeah, I hope
but
that you.
I think it's a lot more geared up to what.
Yeah, you'll love it, and I hope that we don't all owe you an extra £8 as on the way out.
Thank you.
Thank you both for your time today. Genuinely, I really, really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to talk. And I know that it's great that people get the vinyl. With the resurgence is amazing to see people tomorrow getting the chance to go and buy some of their beloved albums again and get these incredible exclusive and variants and stuff like that. It's magical. So National Album Day is a great day, and to see you part of the collection is an honor. And just to have you on the podcast anyway, away from that, is a beautiful thing. So thank you both for taking the time to come on.
Oh, well,
thank you, Mark.
It's an honor. It's an honor. Yeah, sorry, it's an honor to be on it as well, because we've seen who else you've had on. So we were like, yeah, you had an impressive list of people.
Yeah, it took a lot of hard work. Yeah, I'm a one-man team. People think I've got a producer and an editor and a scheduler and a manager and a marketing team, but it's literally just me. I do the whole lot, but it's working. So I'm really
That's
proud.
amazing.
Yeah,
and you're doing it because you have to. See,
exactly. Lovely guys. I'll let you both go and start researching venues and making sure you don't lose money and to enjoy. And I will definitely, genuinely come and see you in Birmingham, and I'll try and get there a bit earlier and come and say hello to you both.
Look forward to seeing you, Mark. That's
awesome.
Great. Thanks for your time.
So there's my interview with me and Utah Saints. What great guys, what amazing personalities, so much energy, and I just loved having them on. And I'm really looking forward to going to see them in Birmingham like we discussed. And if you're listening right now and are a huge fan of this act, you need to go and get yourself some tickets, because it's going to be absolutely amazing and I can't wait to see them live. Also, as you're listening to this, Mark and me has just got a brand new partner. Yes, Siren Craft Brew. Unbelievable beers, and these guys, thanks to the sponsor and the podcast partnership, are offering £10 off your first order of £50. All you have to do is to go on sirencraftbrew.com and literally enter the code 10MARK, the number 1010, and then MARK. That's as simple as that. Right now they've got some absolutely gorgeous beers to try, some amazing stuff for Christmas, and all of it is from a family-owned independent brewery. And trust me, you will absolutely adore the wide range of beers that they've got, which will cater for all people's tastes. Go and have a look and then let me know what you think. Anyway, if you've enjoyed today's interview with the amazing Utah Saints, all I ask in return for listening to these 3 episodes is just to share it. I will never charge for this podcast, but what I do ask is you take the time on your social media, maybe Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, to hit the share button, because it goes a hell of a long way, spreads the word. Someone like Utah Saints, there's people out there that are 20, 30 years in the industry that will absolutely remember this group and absolutely be obsessed to get the chance to listen to an interview. So if you have the time, please go and check it out. It will absolutely mean the world if I see you share it and get the word out there. Also, before I go, I do have a final sponsorship of the podcast, Richer Sounds. As always, thanks to those guys, they keep this podcast going. So if you're in the market for a brand new TV, home cinema surround sound system, Sonos, anything like that, anything basically with audio and visual, go and check out richersounds.com or visit any of the high street stores. Right, we're only 2 episodes now to the big 400. I'm losing my voice because I'm getting that excited, but it's going to be epic. And the one episode that's coming up is truly an absolute huge guest that I've been wanting to get back on the podcast for a very long time. So until then, look after yourself, take care, listen to Utah Saints, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Mana. Mana.
Phenomena.